The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, he'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to Melton again, everybody. Now, we're going to see quite a few new rivers on the channel in this first part of 2025, and I'm standing above one here on a small bridge. If you move out of the way, you can see the river in question. There we go. That is the River Eye, and it flows through two little tiny villages here, which are in the same parish. They are Coston and Garthorpe. Garthorpe, triangular enclosed farm. Next up in Melton, we've got Garthorpe. Now, officially, this is just simply Garthorpe, but the parish is sometimes referred to as Garthorpe and Coston because there are two villages in this one. The very name, Garthorpe, is disputed when it comes to its meaning. The University of Nottingham's Key to English Place Names, which I use for all of my videos, declares it uncertain, but it's likely it means a triangular settlement of some kind because Gar is the old word for a triangle. It contains a handful of houses and a church dedicated to St Mary that's now redundant. The second village in the parish is Coston, which also has a church. Between the two settlements, they don't have a lot to write home about, although they do both stand on a river. The watercourse in question is one we've so far never encountered, the River Eye. To the untrained eye, that would probably be that, but you can't cover this one without a mention of its racecourse. Yes, there is a racecourse here, believe it or not. It's not very well known though. It occupies the tract of land between the villages and holds a mere 5 race days every year. It's managed by the Melton Hunt Club, but each of the race days is organised by a different committee. We'll explain more when we get to it. So this one might not be as big as Wymondham was yesterday, but it still has a lot to talk about. Come with me for a little amble around one of the lesser known parishes in Melton and discover what it's all about. Eyes down looking, let's go. This is Garthorpe village, and it's not exactly a big city. Both this and Coston, which is elsewhere in the parish, are tiny little villages. Both would be considered hamlets if they didn't have churches. Let's begin our journey around the parish with the one here in Garthorpe itself. With its silvery grey tower nestled among the trees, this beautiful medieval church was built largely in the 14th century. The tower is made of Lincolnshire limestone and it's built in the Perpendicular style. The rest of the church is ironstone. It's a few miles to the east of Melton Mowbray and sits on rising ground overlooking a shallow valley. You can see the Tower of St Mary's from the B676 road if you're travelling from Melton. The churchyard is edged by trees and the former rectory sits to its side. The interior was tastefully restored in the Victorian era, and it retains an 18th century altar screen with a crucifixion painting. Using money from the Heritage Stimulus Fund, essential work to the roof has recently been completed and the church is now open for visitors, despite the fact the building is redundant religiously. Due to dwindling numbers, the building was handed to the church's Conservation Trust in 1999. One of the biggest problems they face here are bats. Both natterers and brown-eared bats roost inside the church. They cause a significant amount of mess, especially during the bat breeding season. In recent years, it's been noted that the north wall of the north aisle is leaning outwards and cracks are present. These are being monitored, and in 2009, the Conservation Trust decided to underpin the wall of the north aisle. Now, as far as the rest of Garthorpe goes, it would be a stretch to tell you anything more about it. It's mainly a few houses and a farm or two. But Garthorpe can boast a racecourse as well. If you travel out of the village, north towards Coston, you'll come to it. So we will. Okay, we're pretty much all the way around Garthorpe village. Very, very small place. The footpath I'm on here takes us back to where this video began, on that little bridge over the River Eye. And there we'll pick up the car and drive to Coston, which is the other village within this parish. It's a similar size, they're both really, really small. Now, between the two, there's a racecourse, believe it or not, and I bet not many people know about this one. Garthorpe Racecourse is managed by the Melton Hunt Club, or MHC for short, on behalf of its landowner, Buckminster Estates. MHC maintains the permanent infrastructure like the racecourse's track, fences and stewards enclosure, whilst the races themselves are organised by committees. Garthorpe is not a well-known racecourse. It can't be really, given that there's only 5 race meets every year. Each meet is organised by a hunt. 3 of them are the hunts whose countries meet each other in Melton, namely Belvoir, Cottesmore and Quorn. The 4th meeting is organised by the Mainel and South Staffordshire Hunt, which is adjacent to them, and lastly, of course, the MHC organises its own. The organisation of each day is largely the responsibility of the individual point-to-point committees. Each committee sets its own entry prices and car parking areas and assigns positions for trade stands and such like. Despite being practically unknown in broader racing circles, Garthorpe is recognised as the finest point-to-point course in the UK. It has, on occasion, hosted a few other events, such as the Beaver Hunt Team Chase and Hunter Trials. Okay, here we are then in Coston, which is the other village in Garthorpe Parish, which is why it's sometimes called Garthorpe and Coston, believe it or not. It's funny that, isn't it? Okay, so we're beginning on a bridge here, very similar to the one we saw in Garthorpe, and below us is the River Eye. Let's talk a bit about that. The River Eye is a slender, slow-flowing river upon which both Garthorpe and Coston stand. It's known to flood periodically, especially within Melton Mowbray itself. Fine sediments from the many agricultural fields around here are the biggest known cause of flooding for this river. 9 of the villages bordering the Eye have Danish names, with the rest being Saxon. It's likely that these incomers used the river to reach their homes. All of these villages are likely to have been sited on dry ground close to a good source of water. The River Eye provided that source. Melton Mowbray itself was the Eye's main trading centre in Saxon times. Its market probably predates the Norman conquest, and it's one of the few in England to be listed in the Domesday Book. Today, the River Eye is a relatively unknown part of the English landscape. It's still a vital water source and drainage route, but has more of a leisure focus for fishermen and anyone who walks along the rights of way nearby. This is Coston, the other village within Garthorpe Parish. Some of the locals refer to the parish as Garthorpe and Coston purely because of its location. Coston was a parish in its own right until 1936, when it was merged with Garthorpe. The village's name means farm or settlement of Catter. It's a very small community with just a handful of houses around an ancient parish church, although earthworks show there was once a substantial village here at one time. This is St Andrew's Church, a Grade 1 listed building with key features including a west wall dating from 1070, 2 panes of 14th century stained glass, and the earliest 19th century Gothic Revival chancel fittings in Leicestershire. It also has a memorial to an actor killed in a tragic accident on a London stage during the opening night of a new production. The man in question was Temple E. Cozier, the son of Coston's former rector. At the age of 24, he was accidentally stabbed on stage at the Novelty Theatre in 1896. The historic interior has many fine medieval details, including gargoyles and friezes. The tower and north aisle are Norman, and the south aisle is thought to have originally been a Forester's Lodge chapel. The chancel was rebuilt and restored in 1846. Thanks to various heritage funds, the church is in a really good state of repair these days. A more detailed history of the church can be found online. It was compiled by Dr. Pamela Fisher of the Leicestershire VCH Trust. Let me tell you folks, that footpath is difficult to follow. There's no way markers, you just have to sort of guess. Good job I've got Strava, that sort of tells me the kind of route it follows. Even though I still got lost a couple of times, but we're back to the beginning of this little mini walk, the second in this particular episode. And that's it for the parish of Garthorpe. There's plenty more Leicestershire on the way this year though, look out for it. And that'll do us for Coston and indeed Garthorpe. We're going to be seeing a lot of Leicestershire this year folks, so I'll be back very soon. Tomorrow though, we're crossing the county boundary as we begin a run of parishes in Rutland. See you soon. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.